The book of Job. The book of Job is where we're going to be studying tonight or this evening, the book of Job. And first thing I want to do, I've already been talking, but I want to give you the characters that are in the book of Job that we're going to be discussing. And there's really not but four characters in the whole book that have any significance in the story that is in the book of Job. If you want to add Job's three friends, you can put them in as a set. And the characters are God, the sons of God, Satan, and Job. That's what the book of Job is about. And God, the sovereign creator of the universe, is really going to ignite the events in the book of Job. Job is not privy to the fact of what God is doing. Job is about to be a part of God's story. God does not get Job's permission and check with Job and say to Job, do you want to be a part of my story? God doesn't do that. But he puts Job in his story, and God puts Job in his drama with Satan. Satan is the second character in the story. And when we say that Satan is, we also have to include the sons of God. Now, this is angelic beings that are not equal to God, but they are subject to God. These angelic beings have access to God's presence. They get to go in and out to and from God's presence. Now, this is hard for us to contemplate that these angelic beings, these fallen angels, or the sons of God could be both angelic angels who have not fallen and fallen angels who have fallen, because all of them have to report to God, give God a report of their activities, because all of them are subject to God. And so when it says the sons of God, that could include fallen angels, but also angels in their original state. And so uh, they are in the story. Then Satan himself is the enemy of God who desires to lead men from God into sin. He is a central character in this story because he's going to be mentioned along with the sons of God, the one that God gives his focus and attention to. And then Job, which is a blameless and upright man who Satan persecutes in an attempt to turn his heart away from God. That's who Job is, a blameless man. A man, and when you look at the description of Job in Job chapter 1, he is blameless. And when I was studying it, that Job was such a well-known man that he was not only known where he lived, but he was known all over the Middle East. And I was telling you earlier that in the Babylonian text, the story of Job is mentioned. And it's not God who restores him, it's not God who tests him, but it's Marduk, the Babylonian god. And so he was well known. This story was not only known in the region where Job lived, but all over the region. People knew who Job was. Now, how they determined wealth was different than how we determine wealth today. We determine wealth today by money and gold, silver, but they determined wealth by how much livestock you own. And Job had a lot of it, a lot of, and so his wealth was determined by how much livestock he owned. And so that's what I want to give you an introduction, that these are the characters. And then the Sabines and the Chaldees, uh, these two nomadic tribes who went around looting and pillaging, were used by Satan to loot, to take the loot of Job and to pillage and to kill his children. They were instruments of Satan. These two nomadic tribes who were nomadic tribes, and how they survived, they went around pillaging and looting and killing. And that's who Satan used. So they are mentioning in the story as well. Now, it's a lot that I could really get into In chapter 1 and 2, it is about Job is persecuted by Satan. Now you understand that. God is not persecuting Job, Satan is. Do anybody got an issue with that? God is not doing anything. God is not persecuting Job. He is testing Job, but he is not causing any misfortune to come up on Job of his own hand. But he is allowing Satan to use his hand to bring persecution and trouble and perils upon the life of Job. God can use persecution, sickness, disease. He can use all that he has at his disposal to bring, because he did in the life of Nebuchadnezzar. That was God who did that. It was absolutely God who did that. God is the one who did that in the book of in that Daniel text. And so that's what you got to really consider when you look at the book of Job. You got to be able to consider what is written in the book of Job. You see what I'm saying? So when you consider what's written in the book of Job, you will discover that here in the book of Job, God allows Satan to persecute Job, but God doesn't himself persecute Job. I'm in Bible study. I'm in Bible study. I'm in Bible study. I'm in Bible study. But and so he allows Job to be persecuted by Satan, but God doesn't do it. Now, any trouble you have in your life, sometimes God sends it, sometimes God allows it, and then sometimes it's your fault. You suffering from the consequences of your own choices and decisions. Sometimes you saying, I don't know why I have to cry. Sometimes, yeah, you do. With your lying self, always raising hell in somebody else's life. You reaping what you sown. The seeds you're planting are the seeds that you are reaping. But then sometimes God sends trouble into our lives, and then sometimes God allows Satan to bring trouble into our lives. It's not that hard to discern. Okay? Simple as this. If you're having trouble in your life to track the source of it, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what have I done? Look back at decisions that you've made, things that you've done, seeds that you've sown. That's the first thing you do, because you want to know whether or not you're suffering from the consequences of your own actions and decisions. So look back and say, why is this happening? So let me give you an example, and I'm just giving you an example, not necessarily me, but could be me, particularly could be me. A man can't say, man, I can't figure out why they taking out all this money in my check for this child support. Why I can't make ends meet? Yes, you can. Think about the little seeds you created. You are suffering from the consequences of your own decisions, and your consequences have caught up with you, and now you have to pay the piper. You got to look back to figure out what you've done, what has happened, the decisions you've made. Is it the consequences of your own actions and decisions? That's number one. And so you need to eliminate that by process of elimination. Second thing, the question is, are you doing right? Are you doing good? Are you trying to live a righteous and holy life? If that is the second question, it could be that Satan knows that. Satan sees that. And he's going to do everything he can to try to throw a wrench in that. He sees you worthy. That's why he went after Job. His friends tried to tell him that it was his behavior. He's reaping what he sown. But this was a case that Job was a blameless and upright man, and Satan targeted him because he's trying to do what's right. If you're trying to do what's right, and whenever you do right, Satan's going to put a target on your back. That's number two. That's how you can try to figure out where your trouble is coming from. You know, I was thinking that, listen, I'm learning not to put my own experience in the story. But listen, you know what I don't understand about people who come to our church and leave because they ain't happy? I don't mind them leaving because they ain't happy. But the problem I have is when they leave, they want everybody else to leave. They want to try to tell everybody else to quit coming, quit giving. And they just won't leave and walk away. But so I was praying about that today as I was working in the yard, cutting hedges and stuff and mowing around here. And I was thinking to myself, that is so interesting. I must be doing something right. We must be doing something right because people just don't leave our church. When they leave our church, they try to kill our church. They ain't just happy with leaving. They want to make sure they want to kill it. It's some folk right now trying to tell everybody to leave the church, quit paying, and don't come. Why? If you don't want to come, that's fine. Leave. But don't try to tear down the house, burn it down, because you ain't happy. As a response to you not being happy, you left. Leave. And be content with leaving and leave the rest of us alone. Don't try to call other people and tell them to do what you've done. I'm asking you a question. Sometimes it could be that you're trying to do what's right. You're trying to live right. And you're doing what is right. And Satan targets you. Third, you have to, how you know is, sometimes God could be testing you to mature you, testing you to promote you, testing you to elevate you, testing you to strengthen you, testing you to focus you, testing you to target your faith to make it stronger because something greater is coming. A greater challenge is coming. Go ahead.
Do you always have to accept the blessing or the promotion? You always have to accept it. Can you not just say, God, I'm okay where I am?
No, God don't. God don't care about where you okay where you is. He could care less whether you. Jonah said, "I'm good. I'm good. I ain't got to go nowhere. I'm good being an itinerant preacher. I'm good being a prophet here in Israel and Jerusalem. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need no bigger revival. I don't need no bigger venue. I'm fine preaching to these couple of folk I'm preaching to here." And the Lord said, "No, I'm finna promote you. You finna go to Nineveh, a bigger city, and you're gonna have a bigger crowd to preach to."
So you can never just say, that's okay. You don't know who you
I mean, you think God give you a choice? God cares nothing about how you feel and what you think. If he opens a door, he opens it for you to go in. And if you don't go in, if it is his will for you to go in, he'll force you to go in. He will shut every door, shut down every opportunity. And if that don't work, he won't let you get a good night's sleep. Anxious anxiety will keep you up. He could care less. Okay. You need to quit singing the song. Order my steps in your word. Please order my steps. If you sing that, then you are asking God to determine what's next. Well, even if you're not singing it, God could care less. That's hyperbole. I'm telling you that if God has a purpose and a plan for your life, a will for your life, you gonna carry out that will. There's no way you can avoid doing the will of God. That's what that prayer is. Let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Now, Jesus said to God the Father, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me. Now you ain't Jesus, and I ain't neither. We are not Jesus. Now we can say that and make the determination, I just ain't gonna do it. Oh, you gonna do it. Sooner or later, you gonna do it. Paul said, I ain't doing it. The Lord said, yeah, you is. Don't you think the first time that Paul was being convicted in the Holy Spirit of God the Father through the Son was not sending messages to the Apostle Paul? And finally, Paul says, I'm going to keep on doing what I want to do. The Lord said, no, you're not. I show you. I'm leaving the death, because the death of Stephen, according to Gardner C. Taylor, moved Paul. Because Paul had never seen, or Saul had never seen a man die like Stephen did. And it moved him. And so when on the Damascus Road, I'm going right on back to doing what I was doing. And the Lord knocked him off of his beast, blinded him. You cannot. I don't see, is it the flesh speaking or is it the spirit speaking? Why don't you want that opportunity? Don't you want that door to be open, that path to be made clear and free? Why don't you want that to be the reality? Because it goes against your comfort. It puts you out of your comfort zone. It completely makes you do what you've never done, and it makes you uncomfortable. You don't see how it's going to be possible to be done, and you feel uncomfortable doing it. That's probably a good indication that that's God. If it's uncomfortable, if you have some reservations, some doubts, if you have questions, that's probably God. Because he makes us do uncomfortable things where we have a lot of questions. Or the hard way. But one of the other, okay, well, I ain't gonna do a thing. The Lord will step back and say, I ain't got nothing but time. How about you? How about you? Well, I just ain't gonna do it. And then the Lord will say, come in, Satan. Go down there and cause a little trouble for her. A good mattress can't sleep. Good pillow can't sleep. Tylenol PM, Ambien, can't sleep. And then, because listen, God can reach you through your mind, your heart, and sometimes through your physical body. And then if he doesn't get you there, he can put his hands in your circumstances. He can start moving the chess pieces to hem you in. He can hem you in now. And you be wondering why all these things are happening. It's called God trying to get your attention. I'm telling you, when the Lord says sit down, he means sit down. When he say get up, he means get up. When he say stop moving, stop moving. When he says start moving, it's time to start moving. You see what I'm saying? It makes a lot of sense because, see, sometimes in this particular text, it is God letting Satan do what he's doing because God is going to eventually promote and give him more than what he had. He's testing Job's faith. He's testing your faith. Who do you trust, you or me more? Your circumstances or your money more? Your comfort or me more? See, the thing about church people, we don't like to be uncomfortable. Anything that doesn't make you uncomfortable and doesn't cost you anything is probably not a sacrifice. Gladys. It's got to make you uncomfortable to do it. And it's got to cost you something. It means something to you. You know, if I gave a piece of money and that money was something I didn't need, that's really not a sacrifice. It's only a sacrifice when it means something to you. That's when it becomes a sacrifice. That's why the firstborn, spotless, without any defects, was to be given. You might have had a livestock of 50 goats, and there's some imperfections, some defects on 49. But the one prize when you have the best of the whole stock, that's the one you were supposed to give to God. And that's the one you want to breed from. It's the one that's spotless and perfect because you want to reproduce him in others because he's the prize. But then God said, that's the one I want you to give to me. You get what I'm saying? It makes sense to you? I know, see, y'all be acting like I don't know who y'all are. Until you give until it hurts. And I don't think I probably got but 2 of y'all that have given till it hurts. You have not given a sacrifice at all because you're sitting on a whole lot of money, real comfortable. The Lord want a piece of that pie. And when the Lord asks for a piece of pie, you dip a little out of the middle, get a little crust, and put it on a piece of tinfoil and say, here, Lord. You ain't even cut a slice of it out to give it to the Lord. I'm just saying. Y'all got me on this subject. I'm done. Yes. Yes.
She sacrificed the little meal she had. She
Yes.
set it up for her and her son.
Yes.
And then she prepared that meal anyway and invited him to it, and then she was flourished with more.
More. Every time she went to the cruise that contained the oil and the barrel that contained the meal, there was some. She used all she had for that day, and the next day, oil and meal or flour, whatever it was, to make the cake. He took, as long as the famine was in Israel, God took, in Zophad, God took care of it. And see, that's when you make a sacrifice, when it means something to you. It's not a sacrifice if it don't mean something to you. That's why God rejected Cain's sacrifice. Because you know what this dude did? He went out here and got some sticks. Some dried up sticks, put them on the altar and burn them. But he had livestock out the wazoo. Abel took the best, his prize lamb that could have produced even more prize lamb, and put that on the altar and sacrificed it. Because it meant something to Abel, it means something to God when you give him something that means something to you. Makes sense to you? God don't want leftovers. One of the greatest things I hear the guy say, why would you bring that raggedy, nasty couch out of your living room? You didn't want it, but you talking about I'm gonna donate it to the church. Buy the church a new one. You got a new one. Nobody want that raggedy couch that you've been sitting up on, smoking and wasting food up on. But you want to drag that out to the church talking about I don't need it no more. Okay, if you don't need it, what you think we need it for? Drag your leftovers. You bought you a new couch, buy the Lord a couch. That's what the book of Haggai was about. He says, y'all got all of this cedar and you bringing leftovers and you neglecting rebuilding the temple, but you taking all the good stuff and building your houses while the house of the Lord lay in ruins. You ought to be ashamed. I challenge you, when you buy something new for your house, find something in this church to buy something new for the church. Oh, I'm finna be on y'all for the rest of the year. I'm changing right now. Because we've been neglecting the house of the Lord. I'm making sense to you? Did I answer your question? Did I answer your question? Sister Calvert? You got to look back and make sure you're not reaping what you've sown. You're not suffering the consequences of your own decisions and your own actions. And then if you're trying to do right, the devil is going to target you. He's going to target you because his job is to try to steal you, to kill you, and to destroy you. because he knows you're an asset to God's plan and God is using you. And so he's going to target you. And thirdly, God could be testing you and trying to mature your faith. And so that's how you figure out where the trouble is coming from. Most of the trouble that I have in my life, it is the consequences of my own actions and decisions. Most of us can just about conclude that. It ain't got nothing to do with the devil. You blaming the devil. The devil ain't even bothering you because you ain't doing much at the church in the first place. You ain't doing that much trying to live right. So the devil ain't even bothering you. He don't even wake up in the morning. Spend his time, because let me tell you right now, you ain't blameless and you ain't upright. And you ain't trying to do right. So he ain't even coming to your house, knocking on your door. But now when you start doing right now, but then the Lord could be testing you and maturing your faith. Y'all with me? So chapter 1 and 2 is about the persecution of Job by Satan. I'm just going to give you an outline. I'm going to go back and do the book a little more detail. Chapters 3 through 37. Now this is a long, from chapters 3 to 37, God don't say one word to Job. Man, ain't that something? You done lost everything. Even your wife talking ignorant. Your friends talking to you, but God won't talk to you. God don't say a word. From chapter 3 to chapter 37, God don't say one. God doesn't speak until chapter 38. And see, we be reading this like it's like one chapter is one day, the next chapter is the next day, next chapter is the next day. That ain't how you read scripture. It's a lot of time that has passed. This ain't no like one day, next chapter. This is a lot. Job was in this for a long time. His friends had to come and visit him from a distance. And they sat for 3 days and didn't say a word. And so Job is in this. And I ain't going to get into really what I want to get into, but that's from verses 3 to 37. God doesn't say a word. Now, ain't that something? The nerve of God to let the devil come in my life and cause me this much trouble, and he don't say a word. At least he could send me an email, a text message, or a snail mail and tell me I sent Satan to your house. Lord don't say nothing. He just gives the devil your address. And you know the ridiculous thing about it is from chapter 3 to chapter 37, in the crisis, in the season of trouble in your life, you be praying and the Lord don't say nothing. Now, ain't that something? In the season of crisis and difficulties, where you are confused, you don't know where the trouble is coming, you don't know why, you don't know how long it's going to last, you don't have any answers, God, you praying now. He ain't saying nothing. He just up in heaven. Okay, then in chapter 38, chapter 41, God and Job have a conversation. Now listen to this. Now I want you to listen to this carefully. In chapter 38 to 41, God speaks with Job and reveals his greatness to Job. God talks about his greatness when he does finally speak to Job, but he doesn't tell Job why he's suffering. Isn't that arrogant of God? Now you finally gonna answer my call. And all you're gonna do when you answer my call is talk about yourself. That's exactly what God did. He definitely didn't entertain Job and tell Job why he was going through. That's why Job wanted him to pick up the phone. But when God picked up the phone in chapters 38 to 41, all God talked about was his greatness. Wouldn't that tick you off? All God do is talk about, we're going to look at it. All God does is talk about himself. Don't even entertain Job's question. Why? And I love, I might have been 6 o'clock, talked about if God could be contained in a courtroom, Job would have took him to court and put him on trial. And God was subpoenaed by Job to testify why he went through, and God didn't even show up. When he finally showed up and got on the witness stand, all God did was talk about himself. Isn't that arrogant of God? And then in chapter 42, God restores Job. God restores Job. But it took 42 chapters. And when he restores him, Sister Carrie, he doesn't even tell him why he went through all that he went through in the 41 chapters that he went through what he went through. He just wakes up one day and God changes his fortunes. Now I'm gonna get in the book next week. But Sis Gladys loved to run that little chopper. Chapter 42. And the Lord starts answering all these crazy questions all these folk got. Chapter 42, verse 10, and after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes, gave him twice as much. All his brothers and sisters and everyone who had known him before, came and ate with him in his house. And verse 12 says, the Lord blessed the latter years of Job more than he did the former. That's my favorite verse, because see, that's what I'm waiting on. Them latter rains. See, either God, okay, honestly, now I'm finna close, because I'm closing. I'm finna close this lesson. Now I'm gonna ask you this question. I want you to really think about this question that I'm finna ask. Now, some of y'all, when I ask this question, you in your latter years right now, ain't you? You in your latter